To all of you. So we'll just move to the slide of today's class and then I will proceed. So far in the classes, so that it will also be a quick recap for all of you. So we have I just already discussed, but I'm just showing you. So what are the different block, statements that we have? The repetition statements. How do we do while block, if else, the for statement, then the loops, the labels. Then we also discussed what is a variable dollar underscore, which is an inbuilt variable with respect to Perl. How we use the standard input and standard output to process the data. Then we also discussed the fundamentals of arrays. Then we also discussed what is a list and a sublist. Then how we can assign an element into an array. Then how we can copy one array to another array. Then we have also looked at scalars and the list context. So what is a scalar context? What is a list context? So Perl takes everything with respect to the context. We have already discussed that with respect to a undef and zero based on a string or an integer. We have discussed an example. Then we also discussed about parallel assignments, how we can assign a group of variables together with, we can initialize them with a group of other values instead of assigning them in each and every specific line. And then we can also discuss about how we can swap the variables $x $y equal to $y $x. We can swap them easily. Then we also have discussed accessing an array element, how do we have to access that, and how array can be dynamically shrinked or expanded in the size. Then we also discussed on what is a for each statement, what is the use of it in arrays, how we can use that in an array. All these building blocks will help us whenever we're doing some kind of project or we write some program, which will help us in further developing a project which will be of more, which is a final destination, I should say, final goal, I should say. Push, pop, shift, unshift. These are the different functions that we can operate on the array. Then the built-in list of functions like split. Then QW, quote words function, creates a list of words from a string. So whenever you want to directly write a string, you can even use this QW and define your string in between these simple quotes, like the quote words you see here, so that you will be able to write your string directly, define your string there. Then we have discussed the process names example. What is a diamond operator? We have discussed. Associative arrays, all our yesterday's class. We have seen some examples. Then changing a hash elements, how do I do it? Then iterating through a hash, how we can do using the keys function. Then we also discussed a predefined hash, like the environmental variables in our PC, in our desktop or laptop, whatever it is. We have environmental variables. What is the advantage of it? We have discussed. Then we have also discussed what is a reference in a scalar. How do I reference, which is something like a pointers in C as an analogy. We have discussed that as well. How I can reference a scalar variable, how I can dereference it back, how I can reference the array, how I can dereference it again using an arrow symbol here. All that we have seen yesterday clearly. Then we also seen some function fundamentals. What is the purpose of a function, and when you write the function, how do you write a function, and what are the actual parameters, what are the formal parameters. Okay, so these are like actual parameters, these are the formal parameters we have discussed. How I can add or interpolate a function within an expression. For example, that we have taken an if statement and we have used that, how I can use directly a function call there and then evaluate my expression with respect to a function call based on the return statement. And we also discussed that return statement, if not given, the last expression in a given function will be returned automatically by Perl. Then we have also discussed what is a local variable, which is distinguished by the keyword my. So the moment you say my $x or my @array or my percentage of hash, it becomes completely local. It is not global. The scope of it is within the given block. Then we have also discussed and we stopped at what is an actual parameters, what are the formal parameters, is what, okay. And then Perl supports both pass by value and pass by reference. So unlike it is same as other languages, pass by value and pass by reference. So pass by value is where just we have passing the values directly, the variable values. But when we say pass by reference, it is the memory location of it. So in Perl, what is the way that we reference to a memory location? Using the reference operator. We have just seen in the above slide, that's a backslash. So whenever you have a reference operator, that is passed by reference. Because this is mostly used whenever arrays and hashes you want to pass them directly as a parameter to your function, or you want to return an array or a hash which is a set of records, like a student example that we have seen yesterday. So you want to return completely that particular student hash, then we cannot return directly with the name of the hash. The only option is that you can return in a function using the reference backslash. So that's what yesterday we have seen. And the array @_ is initialized in a function body to list the actual parameters. So whatever the actual parameters that are coming, how we can initialize this. So you can use @_ similar to $_. We have seen $_ is an inbuilt variable, a scalar variable in Perl. So same is the case with @_, which will do the same job as $_, but it is for array. An element of this array is a reference to the corresponding parameter. Changing an element of the array changes the corresponding actual parameters. So because everything here, it will be, whenever we are using this is like pass by reference, which is referring to a memory location. Therefore, changing these elements will actually impact the original array as well. Often values of @_ are assigned to local variables, which corresponds to pass by value as well. Okay. Now here in this slide, there is a small example that it has given, parameter usage examples. So what is this talking here is, this code causes $A to change. So what is happening? Sub is a keyword which talks that, or which says that this is a function, body is written. What is the name of the function? +10. Completely, this is the name of a function. So what does that mean is, whatever the variables that are passed to +10, so that will take that variable is taken in $_ of 0, and then that will be added with a plus of 10. That's what the functionality of this function is. Now, how are they calling this? Just +10 of $A. So now the $A, whatever the value he is passing, it will automatically come into the $_ of 0. Okay. So now, if you look into this function, there is no actual argument being passed. It is the function definition clearly says there is no actual argument being passed. But the moment you pass an argument here, it can be captured in $_ 0. So the first line of this function copies the actual parameter to the local variable. So here, there is another function here. What is it saying? Sub name of the function is f. The moment you say my of $x and $y, so what they are doing is, it is a kind of parallel copy. @_ is an array or a list, which may contain some list of data, like maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, or some data, let's say whatever is passed. Now all those parameters in sequence are copied to, for example, at least 2 parameters, whatever this array contains, will be copied into a parallel copy into $x, $y. Here we can see clearly that my is defined, which indicates $x, $y as a local variable. So as I discussed, passing structures as parameters. So an array or a hash will be flattened if included directly in an actual parameter list. So what does that mean? Whenever you have a function, for example, if you have a hash, percentage hash, or a @array, so let's say percentage hash is defined. Now you want to directly pass this to a function. So that is not possible, because it will take the first value at the max. It cannot take or reference the whole of it. So let's say function of some print, for some function I'm writing, okay, or let's say some print. This is a function. Now how do I reference this hash? So I can only use backslash as a backslash hash. If I do like this, then this could be the parameter. So how I pass this hash to this function is this is how I do it. Similarly is the case if I want to do a return. For example, you want to do a return in this function when I write the body of this function. So I can just do hash. So like this way, what will happen is, so when we do this way, automatically the reference to that particular memory location of where this hash variable is there, it will be referenced, and then automatically it will be dereferenced wherever we want. I think this concept will be similar to what we have even in C, where we cannot directly pass a structure as a variable to a function. There is the concept where we use pointers and pass by reference. Similarly, the sort function, we have seen this earlier in the example. Yesterday we were trying to print alphabetical order, right? The data in our function when we want to print in alphabetical order. So the sort function can be called with first parameter being a block which returns a numerical value based on the comparison of two variables, $A and $B. So this parameter is not followed by comma. So here in this he is giving an example. If $A and $B are two values, which is, for example, are taken from @num, that's an array. So we'll sort the array @num using numerical comparison. So what it will do, it will take each element of this particular array, it will compare which is greater, which is less, which is, because this symbol is less than, greater than, equal to, so the relational operators we discussed. So with this what will happen is, it will sort the array, and it will, when you print the array, you will get in the proper order, ascending order. Now using sort, if you do this, what is the difference between this sort and this sort? Is doing the reverse of it. Here if it is printing in ascending order, here it will do the reverse order, that is descending order. So it's very simple, right? You want to print or sort an array, that's very easy. Just use this function, and with two variables assigned, and whatever is the number of elements in the array, it will automatically take each first two elements, compare, then it will take the next element, compare, and then it will start keeping them in the sorted order. So example TST median illustrates a function that finds the median of an array passed as a reference value. So let's see if I can show you this example quickly, which is TST underscore median, which we discussed in the slide. So what is this telling? This TST median.pl, this file, a program to test a function that computes the median of a given array. So in a given array, whatever the different elements that we have in that array, it will try to compute the median of it. So median is a function. So this is the way yesterday we were discussing, right? Commenting, writing a comments in a program is a very good style of programming. That is where it is easy to explain as well as for readers to understand. So the readability will be very high. The intention of it is every day, when it is not expected that every day you will work on the same code. You may have to move to a new working code or new project in the real time. Obviously, your predecessors or whoever your successors are there in that project, so they want to understand what you have written. Then they want to proceed if there is a bug. They want to fix it. Then these kind of comments will help them to understand what is the aim of this code, what is the objective of this code, what is written, and how I can proceed. Otherwise, it becomes very difficult if the comments are not there. So that's a good coding style that we all have to remember and learn. So now sub median, this is a function. So what is it doing here? So here my ref list. So this is a scalar variable which is taking a default $_. This is how we are using it actually. $_ of 0. So an array, the first element, the first input is being taken here into this, whatever is given to the median function. And now what is it doing? $hash of reference list. I've discussed this. This will give you the length of the reference list array. Whenever you're using $hash of reference underscore list, that will give you a length of the array, the max length. So now you can say compute the length of the passed array. So always it will give you n minus 1 if the length of it is. So then you have to add plus 1 to it. So now see, the comments are really helping you to understand why the code is written. Most people who are new, they why the plus 1 is added here. So because dollar hash of reference list will give you the index, the highest index length of the array, but the actual array will be always a plus 1, because if you have 5 elements, what is the index? 0 to 4. But what is the length? What is the size? It is 5. So you can now here, what is he doing? He is sorting the list based on the example that we have seen in the slide. Sort $a is less than or equal to, comparing it with the whatever the elements in the reference list. Now then you are computing the median. So how you are computing the median is just the logic, we know, right? So whatever is the logic, whether you want to calculate the median or you want to do some other operation, that is up to us. In this example, it is just the median they are given. So now begin the main program. So what is it doing? Initially, the main program is starting it here actually, from where I'm just highlighting it. But what is all in this above code? In this above code, it is all a function that is written. So all the functions, it is a good practice that you write in the start before the main program starts. Or we have something called modules in Perl, where you can save this file as .pm file, which is a module, something like a header files in C, we know, right? So that you can also save it as .pm if you are having a lot of functions to define. Then you can import that saying use. There is a method called use. Here he is not importing anything because everything is written here. And now in the main program, what is he doing? Create 2 test arrays, and one with odd length and one with an even length. So here we can clearly see there is one with an odd length, one is with an even length. Now he is calling the median function. So where is the median function? Now you can see all the highlighted here. So here is the median function, correct? So this is a median function. So he is just calling it. If you see the definition of this, where the body of the function is written, there is no specific parameter being passed. But here we are directly passing the value. What it will happen? Sorry, this is a passing a array which is passed by reference. Why it is passed by reference? We have already discussed. An array or a hash always has to be passed with respect to a reference. So therefore it is always a passed by reference here. And now the first whatever parameter is being passed here are taken into $_0 by default, which is an inbuilt variable. If you don't want to use that inbuilt variable, you can still use your own variables. So now, and what is he doing? He is just passing the array. What is the array? List 1, whatever is defined here. The list 1. Similarly, the second time, in the second call, he is passing the second array, the list 2, and he is trying to print based on the logic that he has defined here. Okay, so what is he doing in the logic? He is taking the length %2 is equal to 1. So if the length is odd, then return $length $list of $length by 2. If it is even, then he is returning the other expression. So if you see here, the return statement, as we have already discussed, is directly evaluating an expression. He is not just taking this into a special variable again then returning it. Actually, he is directly returning the expression. So if it is a complicated expression, it is always good. You take it to another variable and then pass it to the return statement. So it is more, the readability will be more. Okay. And now let's try to execute this and see what will be our output in the program. Therefore, I have to just execute that program. So now what is it showing? The median of the first array is 9 and the median of the second array is 23.5. So if you want to change this value and see a different thing altogether, so what is the option? You go to your program, change the array to another elements, then you will see different values. So that's the example that we have seen. So which is using how you can dereference and reference an array, how you can try to do some operations, how you can define a function. All those are given in this special one particular example itself. So whatever we have learned so far is just all written in one single program, a small program. Means all these building blocks are used together to construct a small program, and all the small programs contribute towards a big project. Okay. Slides, and we will discuss what is the pattern matching. The most powerful tool in Perl, which is already also from Perl. So what is the advantage of pattern matching? Perl has a powerful pattern matching facilities built in. these have been imitated in a number of other systems, as I just discussed. These have been imitated in other systems, but the origin is from Perl. So regular expressions were described in JavaScript chapters. So if you are already aware of Java, the regular expressions are, used or imitated from Perl. So the M operator. So here the symbol, the word letter M operator indicates a pattern matching. This is used with delimiters like Q and QQ, but enclosed characters form a pattern. So we'll see with an example. So if the delimiter is a slash, then the M is not required. A match is indicated by is equals to and a tilde operator with a string on the left and the pattern on the right. So what does that mean is with a string on the left and a pattern on the right. So let's say if I say $x, $x is equals to hello. Now what is trying to tell is, if I say $x and then if I have to use a regular expression, then how I have to use this? I have to use a match expression like this within these two. Then I can write an expression here in between. So how I do write expression, what it will be there. So mostly the expression may look something like some plus, star, or plus, or a question mark. These are different things that you will be seeing. So what each of this mean is in detail we have to see actually. And regular expressions is something which is easy to understand, but little difficult to implement, because unless you know what the pattern you want to match, you will not be able to exactly write a regular expression. But regular expressions are the most powerful tool in any programming language so far. So a pattern alone is matched by default by $_. So what does that mean is, so we will see more in detail actually. So if I say I want to match from in this string, see here $x is my hello string. Now if I'm trying to match for this, okay, what does that match? For example, if hello is a part of a big file, you don't know where hello is. I think the best analogy I will give you is, whenever we do Control F in a file, we search, and sometimes we do Control H, where we will try to replace a given string or characters with another find and replace we do, right, using Control H in Windows. Similarly, we have Control F for finding something. So how does that actually work? So inbuilt, there are regular expressions. So the moment you say, for example, you want to search for hello. So what most of the time directly we are doing is, we are searching for like this. So if the string hello is matched, it will hit and it will give you the result saying that yes, this is a perfect match. Now, but I want to retrieve if this, whatever the pattern is hit, I also want to print it. Let's say I have an expression like this. If $x, whatever is a string, right? So if I'm trying to match in this $x string, which is hello, I'm trying to match the word, let's say h. If h is there, I want to match. If there is a small h or not, I want to see. Now what will happen, because it is an if statement here, so what will happen, the internal expression should be evaluating to true, then only it will say whatever, it will go into the if statement right here, right? So what I can do, print, I am able to find h, alphabet h, okay, or letter h in the string $x. So now what will be the advantage? I told already in the earlier class. If I say $x, will it print $x? No, it will get interpolated with hello, because we have already seen what is an interpolation, how I can use a scalar variable in interpolation in Perl. So now the moment say string of, it will print hello automatically. It will embed hello in this when it prints it. Now what is the purpose of this is, in this particular string, see here the simplest example is I am starting with a string. The complicated example would be that you take a big file, there are a lot of logs. For example, today we are doing a lot of operations and all, we are using our computers. Then internally there will be some logs that are generated, either it's a success log or a failure log. Now you want to process all that data. How do you do that? So what we have to do is, you have to write a regular expression, and then based on that we will be able to do it. So a regular expression, otherwise we are also calling them as pattern matching expressions. So now in this simple example, if $x is with this particular tilde symbol is matching, here M stands for matching H. So the moment in this string, if it matches H, what it is, it will get into this and say, I am able to find the letter H in the string. But we are not sure if really H is hit or something else has hit and then some computer error has happened. Ideally that will not happen. I'm just telling. Now, but we don't know whether really H is found in the hello or not. Now how do we find it? At that point what we should do is we have to use the simple braces. That's what the below statement means. So now if I use the simple braces like this, automatically what will happen? Sorry, yeah, this is a regular expression. So we should not be confused with this braces. So this is, I'll space them. This is braces is for if statement. Hope now this is more clear. Okay, so now this is completely is my regular expression, and these outer braces are for the if statement. Now, since I have grouped it into simple braces like this, it will, the moment I say I am able to find the letter, instead of H, what I will do, I will say $_. Means what? $_ is the first hit, whatever it is. So whatever this pattern is returning, whether it could be H, actually according to our expression, it should match H. But we are not sure if this expression is perfectly working or not. And maybe it will hit some capital H and then it will give you a result. But that is false, right? We are looking for small h. Now at that point in this string, what it will happen is, now I have added a capital H if you look at carefully. And so now I want to make sure small h is hit. Now the moment I grouped it into simple braces like this is called pattern hit. So the split function can take the pattern as the first argument rather than a character. So now what it is doing, this will, once I grouped it into simple braces, it will hit and it will capture that whatever the match happened into this variable. So the moment I do a print of this, it will print yes, hello is existing here. Okay, so something like that we can do a simple examples with respect to pattern matching. It is actually a little more vast thing that we have to discuss on this. So a pattern alone is matched by default to $_. That's what I've used it here. So now I will also try to suggest you a good website where you will be able to learn more on regular expressions. Most of the time for Perl, there is some site called PearlBox. So that is the best site for you to learn, because that is the site from the founders of it. So you'll be able to find most of the Perl latest libraries, examples, everything from it. So here a hash table is, here he has an example, wordtable.pl. Let's see that example. A hash table is used to count the frequency of each word. The keys are the words, the corresponding values are the counts of the words in the text. The exist function is used to tell if a word is already entered into a hash. We already seen the exist function or an operator is there, which will help you to find if there is a key in a hash or not. When in the hash context, we have seen this already. So let me find this example so that I can try to show you that. So there is an example that the wordtable.pl, that is a file that we are seeing. So what is the advantage of it is, you are trying to input a file of text in which all the words are separated by white space or a punctuation, possibly followed by some white spaces, where the punctuation can be comma, semicolon, whatever. So generally our files are, when we write some file or we store some data, that's how we do it. Now what he is trying to do in this is, he is trying to accept that file as an input here. Okay, while of this, I'm sorry. So while of this particular function, and then when we give that file as an input, what he is doing here is, he is using a split function. So how you are using a split function? A split function can be used based on a single comma or colon or something. Generally, how you use a normal split function, we can say something like split of, okay, for example, then I can say just I want to have small one word. I can say colon. So if it is just one colon, that is fine. But now if it is a combination of a colon, comma, space, some exclamation, everything, or if it is a repetition of all of things, then I cannot just use just one colon here, right? Excuse me. So how do I do that? Then I have to write a regular expression. That's where the pattern matching is coming into picture. So what he does here is, here within this particular square braces, which is called a set in with respect to pattern matching, he is trying to write here. So backslash is called an escape sequence. So where dot means a full stop or a comma, okay, as long as excuse me, a comma or a white space or a semicolon or a colon or an exclamation, any of such mark or the characters, I should say, any of such characters, if they are found in the file input that you are giving, then it has to match them. So how many times it has to match? So here he is giving, saying question mark means it is one or more times. So what each this symbol indicates, I will point you to a website, so that will give you more readability. So right now you can just go with this. So a question mark means if this particular pattern, whatever is given here, okay, is matching once or more, then you please match that and proceed further. And the split always will return an array. That is the reason they are taking array. They are assigning the split output to an array. And then star here means what? Star and slash s indicates string. Star indicates any multiple number of strings. We know star means generally wild character, right? Wildcard character it is called. So now what he is doing is, now whatever the words he is getting here, for each, we know for each is used on an array. So he has taken some variable word, and each word from this line words, whatever from the file that has fetched using this split expression, whatever, and we have to be very cautious in understanding that whatever this pattern hit has happened, those words from that file only will be copied into line words array, and then it is going to print all of those. Now if we just try to execute the output of this function and see, we will know more clear. An input file student.txt. So Perl word table.pl, I am giving input as student.txt. The moment I give it, so based on the inputs that whatever are there, it is trying to split them and write in this format. The format what he is printing is what is the word it has found, how many times it has hit white spaces in between, how many times it has found a comma, all such things it is trying to hit the frequency of it, and it is going to print here. So this is the format that the programmer wants to print. So that's where you can define your own logic here. Okay. Now going back to count the frequency of each word that we have seen in the output there, right? And the keys are the words and the corresponding values are the counts of the words in the text. So the existing function is used to tell if a word is already entered into the hash or not. So we have seen the output very clearly there. So now remembering the matches. So parts of a pattern can be parenthesized. That's what I have discussed. We are using a simple braces. Whenever you want to hit or get that particular output clearly, then what we were doing, whatever is your pattern matching which starts with M, okay, we were trying to define here, right? Star, question mark, dot, whatever it is. So whenever you want to hit that particular pattern and print it, which is maybe captured in $_, which already I have discussed in the previous slide. So parts of the pattern can be parenthesized like this. So you parenthesize it. So that will have a special meaning like this. So if a pattern matches a string, the variable $1, $2 refer to the parts of the string matched by the parenthesized sub patterns. Now let's say if you want to have multiple patterns like this in a given expression. So let's say starting with some character, question mark, pattern, let's say some patterns like this. So you want to have multiple hits in a given file. Now you want to capture all of these, for example. So how do you do it? So you are using $1. So first one is always refer to $1. Second one will be captured in $2. Third one will be captured in $3, and so on up to $9, $10 also we can use. in Perl. So this is how you can try to get each hit, capture it, and process your program based on that. If a match is successful on a string, three strings are available to give the context of the match. So what were the three? So $& is the part that actually matched the pattern. Dollar apostrophe is part of the string before the part that matched, and dollar, again this is also apostrophe, that is a quote here and there is an apostrophe, is a part of the string after the part that matched. So you want to have it as, whenever you are using dollar, it is always try to go to the end of the pattern match. So when I show you the website, I think that will have a more clear picture, so that requires a little reading. So I will show you, let me search it right away. It will give you a very clear and detailed regular expressions and regular expression tutorials and all will be there. To you will have a feel of it. So match regular expression, this is what we have used. Substitute a regular expression is always starting with yes, and transliterate regular expression with tr. So we'll see more of it later. So now what the exact thing I want to show you here is a match operator modifier. So here, whenever you want to quantify your regular expression, you can use I, match the case sensitivity. So whenever we are, so if at all I have to show back to the slide, I will show you. So whenever you are using M, it is trying to match the pattern within the given quotes there. O evaluates the expression only once. S allows use of dot to match a new line character. So these kind of these are directly the literal values that you have to use in your regular expression whenever you are trying to match a given pattern in a log. So one second. Yeah, this is more more complex regular expression. So here this is the thing. So now whenever a regular expression is starting with caret symbol, right? So what it will do, it will matches the beginning of the line. So in our example, I have to talk, right? As in the example I've shown hello. So there what was happening, whenever I am saying m slash of caret symbol, if I use this symbol, right? It will try to match carets of h if I do, small h. It will try to match for small h at the start of the string. If it is not there in the start of the string, it will say there is no such pattern found. For that is the example I can show you quickly is, because there are multiple examples with regular expressions which we cannot cover all, but quickly to illustrate that simple example, let me type one more here. $x is equals to m of, now in this, if I specify the caret symbol here and say h, so what it will do, if the $x, what was our $x expression? It was a string, right? So what did we have there? Small h, capital H, hello, something like this, or blah blah blah, whatever it is. Now what it will do is, even if there is a repetition of h here, now what it will happen is, the moment it encounters in this regular expression a caret symbol, it will see what is the next letter, that is h. So what it is trying to tell is, whenever in this string, if there is a h in the start of the string, then you please match this, otherwise it will not match. So the moment you try to say print $0 or $_, what will happen? It will not print this unless you parenthesize this. That's what we discussed already. So therefore, if I parenthesize this, so it will say yes, the start of the string is this thing. So it has found that. So it will try to find this. Now if I say want to have small h as well as capital H, now what I have to do, I can use a case sensitivity. So I use I here. So the moment I use I, it will say /i, sorry, because I can be an alphabet, right? So /i will say that it is case sensitivity. So the moment we say this, it will say okay, start with small h or capital H. So even if this is small h or even if this h is here, still it will try to find this string. and it will match. That's how it is. So there are meanings to each of it. That what we have to understand a regular expression very clearly. Only on practice you can get used to regular expression. Even you don't practice it or you will leave it for, we will not be able to recollect all this. So that's the catch there. Regular expressions always needs a practice. So as I've shown you the website here, so we have different regular expressions. So a dollar will match to the end of a string. Similarly, as I have put a caret symbol there, if I use a dollar symbol, right, at the end of it will try to look for the alphabet H. If I say $H, it will look for H alphabet at the end of the string. If it is not there at the end of the character I mentioned in the brackets, you go ahead and match it. That's what it means. So you want to have a group of characters. So let me show back the example. So if I go back to our slide and type to you. So now let's say if I'm trying to use instead of this, okay, if I have a square bracket like this. So what that is, it's a complete set. So now whatever it is, now if I say H, capital H, A, or I can say A to Z, any letter in the A to Z, it will try to match any of this. If you want to give a range of alphabets, right? I can't type A, B, C, D up to Z. So the range I can specify is A to Z like this. Or you want to specify numbers 0 to 9, you can specify. You want to say that these numbers repeat, then you can say if they are repeating $D means it's a digit. If they are repeating twice, so *2, if I say, means if this pattern is repeating with numbers twice, then you can still go and hit it. So ideally what it means is this string, instead of alphabet, it should have some 1, 2, 3, 4 numbers like this. Then it will be able to match this here. Okay. So these are different examples we can see. Similarly, you want to do a substitution. As I told you, the clear example is Control H in our regular words, right? You want to find and replace a pattern. So what are we doing? You want to, let's say, you have a word file. Now you want to find a word by the name hello, and then you want to replace with hello world. What are we doing? We are doing Control H. You are saying what string you want to search, hello. What do you want to replace? Hello world. Automatically it is going to replace it. So what the pattern you want to do, replace with, search with, and where you want to replace this new string, this is how you can use using a substitute operator. Okay, so the new string will replace the part of the string matched by the pattern. So always the pattern match, how we are giving, it is not an equal to sign followed by a tilde operator. That's what we have to use in the regular expression. So a G modifier of the substitution causes all the substring matching the pattern to be replaced. Otherwise, only the first pattern is changed. So what does that mean? Like M, yes, if you are trying to use G. So now you want to, let's say, find a pattern. Let's say you want to find hello, then you want to replace the whole file with hello world. Now you should use G. Means what? It is going to find wherever this pattern is occurring. What is the pattern we are searching for? The word hello. And it will replace wherever hello is there with hello world. Now, unlike that, if you are instead of just using yes, what it will do? It will replace in the first match only. Wherever it finds the first match, hello, it will do. The rest of the file, whatever is your expectation, will not be met. So you want to, replace all the occurrences in your file. Let's say the hello world with hello world. Then you can use the G modifier. Okay. So the I modifier causes the pattern to match to be case sensitive. I have already discussed that in the above example, right? So whenever you are using I, it is a modifier. So what is this all actually? Yes, G, M, these are modifiers. So what is the modifier? It is trying to modify or quantify your regular expression. How you have to treat it. It is adding some more value to it. Okay. Similarly, the transliterate operator. So when applied to a string, it causes each character of the string that appears in the first list to be replaced by the corresponding character in the second list. So what is the list here? So here he is giving some characters of list, some list of characters, sorry. And now you want to replace all this, characters in the list 1 with list 2 characters. Then you can do that using a TR, transliterate. means only the characters you want to replace, that you can do that. If the second list is empty, the characters from the first list are deleted from the string, that we know, right? What does that mean by empty here is something like white space. Suppose you are searching for word hello and you replace with just you don't enter anything in the replace in your word document. What it will do, it will replace with empty space. Wherever is hello, it will delete all the hello. So that's how the space, the same meaning is here. Okay. So to carry output file input and output, as already we have seen with our earlier example, we have given the file as our input. So whenever we are giving the file as an input, what it has to do, it has to first open the file, read the file, or you want to write something into the file, it has to append the file. Earlier, the first or second class, I remember we have discussed that whenever we are using the diamond symbol, we can input the file to our program. Then once you want to do some operations. So far what we were doing, we are just reading the file and we are trying to output the data from it onto the standard output stream. What is that? stdio out, which is our screen. But now you want to capture your output, whatever you did so far, into another file, or you want to append the same file by doing some operations. Then it is same like any other language. So we have some file input output operations even in the Perl. So to open a function, so what already we have discussed earlier. Let's say whatever the files that you are storing, a Word file or whatever. So what is happening? They are stored with some physical names in your directories. But when you are opening it literally using our Word application or anything, internally they are trying to treat it as file handles. So a file handle, an analogy if you want me to give, you want to write on a horse, what do you have to do? You have to first get a hand of it. You have to have a handle of it, then only you will get onto that and you will be able to write on the horse. Similarly, so for a file to open and you want to do some process on in the file, or you want to write some file data into it, you want to delete some data from the file, or you want to match some regular expressions on a file, all what you have to do is you have to first get a file handle. So you have to define a file handle as a programmer, then you have to open the file. First you have to check if the file exists. If the file exists, fine. If not, you have to create the file or throw an error based on the requirements which you are implementing. And then once you open a file, you should always be having a read write permissions. Otherwise, you will not be able to write into the file. So what is it? How do you define that? So by convention, the name is all capital letters in Perl. So whenever you are giving a file handle, we are trying to give it in uppercase so that it is very readable and understood. Okay, that's a convention. It is not a strict rule, but by convention we should always do that. The second parameter is to open a string value naming the file and optionally include a character to indicate mode of opening a file. So what is it? If you are using a less than operation, it indicates open for input. If you are using a greater than, it indicates open for output. So deleting the content of an existing file or whatever. So what is it trying to tell? Whenever you are using this less than symbol, it is trying to take on the right side of this file, you will have a file handle of the symbol, you will have a file handle. So it will try to get the input from the file. It is going to put it into your program, whatever you are trying to write into an array or whatever it is. Now the moment you try to use this greater than symbol from your standard input or from your program, whatever the process data, it will try to write into that file. Okay, so it is trying to redirect actually. So when you want to append the file, so you have to use two double greater than symbols here. So this is same as other languages. So I'm just giving you a very brief of it. So the print function is used to send output to a file handle. So how are we trying to get a write onto the file? So simplest thing is just use print out handle. Here is what is it? Out handle means file. He has defined a name of the file handle as out handle. Then he is trying to write some data onto that automatically. So the moment you use a print statement, it will automatically write everything into your file. So there is no comma here after the file handle. So whatever is your data after that, he is trying to put a comma. Then whatever some more data you want to write, we'll see an example. So this is important. Otherwise, the value of the handle will be displayed on the output of the console. Okay, if you are trying to use a comma here, what will happen is it will directly redirect it to the output. Okay, so the input operator can be used on the input file handle. So this is an input operator that we have seen all in our previous examples when we were discussing about while statement and all. We were using this where we are giving the input as a file name while off. So it will expect an input file. The read function reads a number of characters into a given array. The function returns an actual number of characters. So these are all different functions. I mean, the seek function can be used to position the file handle cursor at the different position in the file, which is more important actually. Some more clear picture rather than more of the theory there. So example wages.pl illustrates many of the features of the Perl. An input file contains lines of data with fields separated by. So what is the input file should contain? Lines of data with fields separated by colons. The split function can be used to separate the fields. So we know already because the input file contains lines of data with fields separated by colons. So how do I separate or split it? Using the split function with the pattern colon. Automatically the input data in the file will be split and it can be separated. So pattern matches are used on names. A hash is used to store employees and their salaries. So let me find out this example and display it on the screen quickly. So here I have just taken a file. I've just because the wages.pl file. I think the screen is shared. Yes. So this wages.pl file is expecting input file by the name employee.txt. If you look at the code. So now what I did try to do is I am trying to create a text file with what is the format that he is expecting. So let me save this file here. So here we'll save this as employee.txt. Now the moment we try to run this program, let's see what will be our output. So it's saying can't open employees, no such file or directory. So either there is some issue. So what is the issue there? So this is an error handling. I purposefully given the name of the file wrong here because employee.txt. So here, what is our actually program showing? In our program, it is expecting a file of the input employee.txt. So if you look into this clearly, so if you look at this, so the employee, so it is expecting employees.txt actually, not even employee. But what we have given is a different name. Therefore, what is it saying? Can't open employee. So we already discussed there is something called die. Okay. So therefore, it is trying to use error handling. We have already discussed what is the use of a die whenever we are using in Perl. Most of the time, though it looks a little harsh, so what he says is open or die, and then he will throw an error message. So that's what it gave us, right? can't open employee, no such file or directory. That's what it's trying to clearly tell. Okay, now let us recorrect it quickly and then move further with an example. Excuse me. Oh, okay. Let me share the terminal. So what was our output? So here if you see, employee.txt is our output. So it says percentage of employees under 40 is 80. Average salary of the employee under 40 is whatever. So based on the input that we have given, it tried to calculate based on the logic defined in the program. So there were no employees under 40 who earn over some. So I think there is some print error here in the program. So based on the logic, it has clearly printed what we want. So what is we are trying to discuss here is how this file input has worked and what is the logic that he has written in that particular file. So let me go back quickly to the notepad and show you whatever the concept that we just discussed. He is trying to implement in that particular file. So wages.employee, hope the screen is visible. Yeah. So now here what is he doing? He is just trying to open a file. What is the name of the file? Actually in the codes if you see employee.txt. But as I discussed earlier in the previous slide, employees is the file handle here. So open is a inbuilt function which will help you to open any file. Maybe it could be a text file or a dat file, whatever it is. Okay, if you want to do a binary file. So I think if you are already aware of C, Java, you might have already encountered this kind of programming. But again, with respect to Perl, the same open function is there. It is easy to handle as well. So what he is trying to do is names that ends in sun. Excuse me. So this is just a string. Actually in the program he is trying to expect that if there is any names ending with sy and sun, then he wants to also find that regular expression and print it. So name that ends in the sun, that's what is saying. So forgetting that print statement, what is more important here is while of the employees within the diamond symbol, I mean less than and greater than symbol. So what is it trying to show here is it is trying to show us the what I should say the file handle. So while of the file handle, it is trying to check. So until the file is completely read from start till the end of the file, it will try to fetch all the data. So, and then so total increment the number of employees and chop off the new line. So what is it doing? He is directly whenever it is hitting each line, it is trying to increment total employees. So whenever there are multiple lines in that file, it is trying to say that okay, that many employees are there. And then it is also trying to chomp because each one line it is taking with a new line character if exists, it will chomp. We already know what is that. Now split the input line into 4 parts. So what is he trying to do? He is doing a group assigning of all the variables. How is he trying to assign a line? In our example, student sorry, what was that? Employee dot file, employees.txt file. So we have given a group of data like this. So which is all, see earlier, see we also have some comments in this line, but it has not done anything with respect to this comment. Only it has tried to process this data because what it is doing is it is trying to check if there is a pattern with respect to the split function where there is a colon. So every field we have tried to separate with a colon symbol. So here also in the split function, the simplest regular expression that they wrote is the match is trying to split using a colon. So now split will return an array. Therefore, here in this scalar, as we already know again, Perl will operate with respect to the context. So here he is trying to operate or return the multiple values into each single scalar variable. Therefore, it is returning each of its value found into a scalar variable. So the first hit, it will give assign to name, then age, then department, then salary. And then if the name is now another regular expression, if you see, if dollar name of a regular expression here, because we see a tilde symbol ending with sun. How do we know a string ending with sun? Because here we see a small dollar symbol with after the sun. Means if there is any name of the file ending with sun, it want to print that name. So let's quickly see by adding let's say Bala Sun. Let me add this quickly for this and try to run this program and see what will be our output. Okay, so I think I just looked at it. So actually there is a small print error in this file. So I mean they are not printing that file. Let me go back to that. Yeah, ideally this has to print this name, dollar name. Let me hello, my name is, I'm just trying to add a string here to make sure that it works. So So in this particular file, what is the screen share? Yeah, so here I try to add actually Bala Sun or Bala underscore Sun, but I see that this regular expression is not matching. So we need to debug on this. Ideally this has to work, but let me get back on this to you people. So if dollar name of Sun here, so it has to match if there is a, what is it? Let me try to check quickly. Yeah, so I think the regular expression here it's not being matched, though we have written it clearly. So we have to see what is the error here, and therefore it is not able to print whatever is in that file. So here what is the next, what he is doing is if the age is less than 40, that's what we have already seen in the output. So there is no employees less than age of 40. So based on the age input that we are giving, it is looking into that. Similarly, if the salary is greater than 40,000, then it is trying to print the salary. So based on what you want to print here. And now what is it doing in the last? If there was at least one under 40 who earned a salary greater than 40,000, then he wants to continue. So if keys of sublist. So here what is he doing? He is trying to take everything into a hash because it's with percentage symbol. Keys of hash. So he's trying to look for that. So sorted list of employees under 40 with salary greater than 40,000. We have already seen the same in the output as well. So there were no employees under 40 who earned over 40,000. That's what it was trying to print there. Okay. So that's the with respect to files. Fine. So then with this actually we have ended with on the Perl building blocks. So the most important thing now after this, that is the CGI programming. CGI programming, otherwise called as Common Gateway Interface programming. So this is the most used in Perl as well, using a Perl for CGI programming. This is what we are trying to use. So computation is required to support sophisticated web applications. So what is basically this one? I think if your people are aware of Java, the Java servlets and all. So we do today we have also other tools like ASP, .NET and all. What we are doing is we are trying to write some server-side programming as well as a client-side programming using web interface, and then we give a form or a HTML page to a user. What he will do, he will try to fill the data in that and then send a request. So to whom he is sending the request? So the moment you click on submit, or whenever you are signing on to your even Gmail or today e-commerce sites, you are submitting some order, you are trying to do or buy something, what is happening? You have a form. So you would go there and you type your required details or what you want to buy. You choose using maybe a radio button or maybe a checkbox, and then you click on submit order. Automatically you are getting a response. So what is happening is on the client side we have a HTML or documents, and then the forms we call it as otherwise. Then when you are submitting your data, it is going and talking to the respective server. If it is Gmail, it goes to the Google server. If it is Flipkart, it goes to the Flipkart server. If it's Amazon, it goes to that. So whatever is the e-commerce server, it goes with respect to that based on the URL that you have defined. Okay, and then what it will happen is it will go there, it will process the data what you have given in that, and then maybe an application form. Simple example, you want to apply for an online exam, you fill all your details, then you want to also give your credit card details or go to a bank site and then do an online remittance, then further submit the data. Then automatically you will get a response. What will be maybe a response, and then maybe if it is a survey, they will say thank you for the survey. If it is a exam online booking, they will say okay, you have booked so and so on so and so slot and your date is so and so, your time for exam is so and so. So it also gives you that responses. So what is happening here is from our client side, client side in the sense as an end user, we are trying to submit some data on the HTML page. Then that request is going to a server which is somewhere in the internet world, and then that server has got some, in Java terminology you call them as servlets, for example. So you go there and then it will process on your data, and it will, what a process could be some logic there or program there, whatever is written on the server side, and it will fetch you some response. So how this is happening is all the CGI programming, we call it as. So there are several common ways a web server can use to determine if a web request should cause a CGI program to execute. So usually it is determined based on the target of the request. So what I have tried to do is I have tried to show a simple example to you before we proceed directly. Let me try to share my browser. So for example, if you look into this, so this is our first Perl CGI program. If I look into this file. Okay, before we proceed further and how I got this and all, I will tell you. But so what is it saying? I have actually a form here where it is saying reply.html. The moment I say this is our first Perl CGI program, click here to run a program, and I get a reply from some web server here. My web server address, something like google.com. Here I have defined locally my web server on my PC, where the IP address is something like this, followed by, it could be anywhere internally in the directory. So how actually I had an Apache server I have installed. So now what is it doing? It is doing reply using a CGI program. So CGI files, how you write? Using Perl scripts again. You have using your Perl blocks, whatever you have learned so far. So what is it giving? The server is giving me a response saying greetings from web server. So how this all happened? I have a form like this. I clicked on here, it is saying, it is giving me a link. Click here to run the CGI program. Then it was giving me a response. So now what has happened here? What happened is we have submitted a request and then it has returned us a result from the server. Now initially, for you people, if you want to use this utility and develop your CGI programming, something like your Java servlets and all, you should always have a web server. Maybe you can have a officially Tomcat they will use. There are different web servers we have. You can use Apache, which is an open source, free of cost. So I have configured Apache on my Linux machine, and then I have a Apache web server hosted. So what I did is on that particular folder of my server, whatever locally on my machine I have configured, I have placed all my CGI files because it should be on the server side. Now whatever are the files that are supposed to be on my client, they may be anywhere on my PC. So the moment that could be HTML files. So the moment I open those HTML files, it could be some form. So how will define those HTML files? It is a programmer, we have to define what you want. Let's take another example quickly. I will show you a HTML page. So the moment I submit some data there, automatically it will try to reply back to me with some data. So far we have seen reply already. That's a test program. Now let's see. I think my browser is still shared. Yes. So now here I have written a HTML page. So how, I mean, HTML page is again HTML syntax. There's nothing to do with the Perl related thing. So now you have a HTML syntax, you wrote a page. Now the page looks like this. So where you can create some fields, some boxes, a table with different products that you want to list and all. Now let's say I have written my name here. Okay, then I have some address. Okay, the city, Hyderabad, for example. Then I have defined some cost of each of this particular unpopped popcorn, caramel popcorn. So here basically I am trying to develop a website for a popcorn sales. So now I give some input like how much quantity I want, something like that I give here in the form here. Now maybe using a Visa card, which we could not simulate right now at this point because we need some gateways, other gateways and all. So now just for field I have given this. Now the moment I do a submit order, so what will happen? It will go to a server and I'm getting a response from my server. How do I know that? If you see the URL got changed. Earlier what was the URL? It is from my local machine. The moment I submitted on the order, it went there and it tried to fetch what are the details I have entered. Bala, SSD. So these are the customer details with the name and address. Now payment mode I did through Visa. Then items whatever I ordered. Then what is the total cost of the bill. Correct? So this is how we use a client server programming using CGI. So that we can develop using Perl. So these are basic examples which I have just tried to discuss. Now going back and sharing the slide presentation. So now I think you got a feel of it actually. So how it looks, what is the way that we have to, what is the purpose of CGI programming? That's what the intention of showing those examples to you. So how do we write it and develop it? That's now catch here. As I already told you, if you're all well aware of Java or Java servlets and all, that is one way. ASP.NET from Microsoft will also give you the same facility to do that. Java servlet from Java server pages, you can do that. So before you do this, always, as I told you, right, you should always have a web server hosted where your web server should, so you should always be aware of writing a server side programming as well as client side programming. So on your server side, what you do when I configure it, you should always have a server side. So let me share, for example, I have configured a Apache server. So quickly I'll show it. It's nothing like, it's a folder structure basically. If I have to show you the folders where I have defined these files by my Apache server. So under this folder I have written all my CGI files. So this is a CGI programming I do. So I have written all the CGI files. So how do I write? What is the syntax we have to follow is what we have to learn. So once we have all the CGI programming written on the files here, which are on the server side, the moment on your client side, whichever is the directory you have your HTML file, if you develop that particular HTML form, you can link both of these. How do we link is, in whatever the HTML form you're trying to write, when you're trying to give which file has to give you the response, if you look into this screen, you have, like, let's say 4 or 5 files here. Now which file it has to respond with, that you have to define in your HTML document. In your HTML file, let me show you the code with HTML as well. Web server and the file name, which file, the CGI file it should respond with, I have given clearly. So this will clearly indicate whenever I submit this HTML file, which file has to respond back to me. That is clear there. Okay. Fine. So I think we will end up right now here, and we'll see more in detail. Now you got a feel of what is the CGI programming, how we do it, and tomorrow we will see what is the syntax with respect to the CGI programming, how you have to write a CGI file, how you can write a HTML file. HTML file, I think you all will be well aware, if you know already, that we can write using the HTML tags. But how do we write CGI program, which is on the server side, is of more important. Okay, so I hope you will all enjoyed this session and have a good day. So let's all try to meet tomorrow. Okay, have a good day. Bye.